Hey, I'm Joubert with Wilson Combat, and today we're going to talk about field stripping, cleaning, lubricating, and reassembling an EDC X9L, which is a bushing barrel gun, and an SFX9 4-inch gun, which is a bull barrel gun. In today's video, we're going to be using the 730 cleaning kit from Wilson Combat. It's a fully encompassing kit for cleaning handguns. It comes with brushes, mops, patches, oil, bore cleaner, extended rods, patch holders, universal handles, the old toothbrush that I don't recommend using as a toothbrush after you get through with cleaning your gun, the channel tool, which is a very handy little tool that I like to use on several different weapons platforms, and the 22P bushing wrench. We want to make sure that our firearms are unloaded and clear before we start cleaning and or working on our firearms anytime. Also use eye protection when working with springs under tension, which we will be today. We're going to start with the SFX9 4-inch. The first thing that I like to do, obviously, is to check to make sure the gun is empty, look and feel. In the hammer back position, you can take the slide back far enough to the takedown notch and push out the slide stop, which then allows you to remove the top end from the frame. Be sure to capture the guide rod and spring while removing the slide off of the front of the frame. Still being captured, take your other hand and slowly remove the guide rod and spring assembly. In doing this portion specifically, you definitely want to have eye protection on. Those springs are under tension and can go across the room in a hurry if you're not careful and keeping hands on everything. Remove the recoil spring plug, flip the barrel link in the forward position, pop the barrel up out of the lockup position in the slide, and pull it out of the front of the slide. And you have field stripped your SFX9 4-inch at this point. This one is a little dirty. What I like to do is clean up the outer surfaces first. And you can take our universal bore cleaner, which has carbon removing applications on a toothbrush, scrub the ramp and the front of the back end of the barrel, underneath the barrel and along the area of the barrel link. You can also hit the crown. This one's not in too bad of shape, but you can hit that area and then take a clean patch and remove any of the excess dirt and carbon from those surfaces. Once that is done, take our bore brush, more bore cleaner, get the brush moistened and run the brush down the bore of the barrel. And then once you are finished with that step, take a clean patch and run it through the barrel to remove any excess dirt and grime and material. I also like to take a patch and clean off the slide stop post and any excess dirt and grime along the slide stop. And then you can use the same patch if it's not too dirty. Take the slide and our channel cleaning tool and get the patch on that and run the channel cleaning tool down the slide rails all the way to the rear and get all that grime and gunk out of the slide rails. You can also get into the sides of the pickup rail, get those areas cleaned up. And once you're done with that, we'll get into the frame. You will want to slowly move the hammer to the forward position, which takes off the tension of the hammer spring, and then insert your takedown tool into the rear of the frame, push forward, which releases your back strap. And from this position, what I like to do is get your cleaning brush, your bore cleaner, get your toothbrush good and moist, and clean the surfaces behind this back strap along the hammer strut and the hammer spring housing, and then take a patch and remove any excess dirt and grime from that area. You can take it down farther. Things get pretty complicated in there once you get past this point. So if you're not an experienced gunsmith, you should probably take your handgun to an experienced gunsmith to tear the frame down on any of these line of handguns any farther than this. To get your back strap reinserted, push your takedown tool forward, which releases the pressure, and your back strap will pop back into place. From here, we're ready to lube and reinstall all the parts and pieces of the top end and get the top end back onto the frame. What I like to do first is take my oil and put a drop on the rearward part of the slide rails, inside the rails, and on top and in front of your notches, and about part way on the shooter's right side of the slide, and a little bit on the rear surface of the pickup rail. And then I like to put just a little bit of oil on the sides of the barrel link. And then with the barrel link down, reinsert your barrel into the front of the slide. Be sure and flip your barrel link up. Take your recoil spring plug, insert it back into the slide, pushing it all the way forward. And then time to reinstall the guide rod and recoil spring system. The little saddle on the shock buff and the guide rod go down up against the barrel. Insert the spring into the recoil spring plug, push in, and again, be very careful when reinstalling these parts and pieces because they are under spring tension. Once you have it into the slide, take your hand and be sure and trap that spring and guide rod and hold it in place until you get it back onto the frame. Ease the slide back onto the frame, and you'll want to line up the sides of the frame and the barrel link best you can. Take your slide stop, insert it, and sometimes you may have to give it a little bit of a wiggle to get it through all the cross holes in the middle of the barrel link and the frame. Pull the slide back to your takedown notch, push the slide stop all the way through, and you are reassembled. From here, I like to put a little oil on the barrel hood where it locks up, and a little bit out here on the big end of the bull barrel, just to get some oil up in the top part of the slide. You can do this while the slide's disassembled, but these are kind of the main areas, and once the gun's back together and the slide reciprocates normally, it'll drag the oil from the front of the hood and the front of the barrel back, and that's another reason why I put oil on the rear of the slide, because when reassembling, the first things that touch the frame rails is the back end of the slide, so basically you're lubing your frame rails as you're reinstalling the slide. And that is how you field strip, clean, oil, and reassemble the SFX9 4-inch. Next, we're going to field strip, disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble the EDC X9L. The first steps of the process is very similar to the bull barrel 4-inch size guns. Pull the slide back to the takedown notch, remove your slide stop, slowly slide the slide off of the frame. Be sure you capture the guide rod and spring with your fingers, and then slowly take your guide rod and spring assembly out, and then your recoil spring plug. Sometimes, especially on these longer aprons, you can't, especially with bigger fingers, you can't get a finger in there to push the recoil spring plug completely out. I take my slide stop and get on the front of the recoil spring plug and push it to the rear to where I can get some fingers on it and slide it out the rear. At this point, you'll turn your bushing to where the notch is in the open space where the recoil spring plug used to be. Take the bushing off, barrel link down, and barrel out of the front of the slide. I'm on the EDC X9 series of handguns and the Experior line of handguns that have the grip panels. Similar to the SFX, you want to make sure that your hammer is in the forward position. When your slide's not on the gun, be sure not to just pull your trigger and let that thing slam into the back of the frame. It's very detrimental to the hammer and the frame, so slowly and easily thumb the hammer forward, and then in that position it takes the tension off of the hammer spring. Push your takedown tool in, your back strap comes free. You can remove the grip panels from either side of the frame. Again, I like to use my toothbrush and my bore cleaner. Get the toothbrush moist with bore cleaner, scrub in around the hammer strut area and the hammer spring and the mainspring housing. You can also get in to these areas that are behind the grip panel and get rid of any excess debris that may be in any of the slots in those areas. Patch to remove excess debris, and then you are ready to reinsert your grip panels on both sides. What I like to do is kind of trap that first grip panel with the meaty part of my hand, holding the back strap up with my thumb and then reinserting the other side grip panel, slowly letting the back strap down, using your takedown tool to push the mainspring housing forward and slowly pushing down your back strap, snapping everything back into place. Be sure and check your grip panels to make sure they are secure in between your back strap and the tongue and groove cuts on the front of the frame. From this point, we're ready to lubricate and reassemble the top end of our EDC X9L. Same lube points as before. Barrel link down, reinsert barrel into the slide, flip the barrel link up, reinsert your barrel bushing, line up the saddle on the bottom side of the bushing, try to get it as lined up with the circular part. Now it's time to reinsert your recoil spring plug, slide that in, and with the tension of the spring, when you reinsert the spring and guide rod, it will push the recoil spring plug up into the bottom of the bushing. Be sure and be very careful when reinserting the guide rod and spring, as that is under tension. Once you get it into place, trap it with your fingers and you are ready to ease the slide back onto the frame. Make sure you get it to a point where you can see through hole in the frame and the barrel link, insert your slide stop. And again, you might have to wiggle it to get it through the frame holes and the barrel link. Pull your slide back to the takedown notch and push your slide stop all the way through the frame and into place. We're reassembled from here. Same concept. Like to put a little bit of lube on the front of the hood, and on a bushing barrel, the barrel is in a sense the same diameter all the way front to back, so I like to put oil as close to the bushing as I can, and then let the bushing kind of smear the oil up and down the outside of the barrel, on top of the chamber and the slide rails, lubricate the frame rails when reinstalling the slide. At this point, we are reassembled. We're also going to show you how to take down the top end of the gun by using a bushing wrench. You will line up the bushing wrench with the bushing of the gun, pushing down on the recoil spring plug and rotating the bushing to the left. And then you want to get your other thumb up here to catch the recoil spring plug as you get the bushing wrench out of the way, and then slowly let the recoil spring and recoil spring plug up and out of the gun. You can remove the recoil spring plug and the spring completely if you wish to do so. And then your bushing spins and comes out like that, which takes all of the tension off of the slide to the point where you can just ease it back to the takedown lever or the takedown slot. Pull your slide stop out, and basically there's no tension at this point because you've taken the spring out of the slide by using the bushing. Take your guide rod out, flip your barrel link down, barrel out the front, completely disassembled, just a different way to get there. Reinsert the barrel into the front of the slide. Make sure your barrel link is up. Go ahead and put your bushing back on and spin it all the way to the left so it's out of the way when you go to put your recoil spring plug back in. Get your guide rod in, and at this point where I can still see everything back here, I like to go ahead and put my recoil spring back on to make sure it's all the way down on my guide rod. Hold everything into the top of the slide while sliding the slide back onto the frame, and kind of push the recoil spring to keep the guide rod up against the barrel link. Once you get everything lined back up, reinsert your slide stop, pull the slide back to the takedown notch, and push your slide stop all the way through. At this point, you are ready to reinsert your recoil spring plug. Hold it down with your off thumb, get your bushing wrench back into place, and let the recoil spring plug pop back up into the bushing, and you're back together. And that's how we field strip, clean, lubricate, and reassemble the EDC X9L and the SFX9 4-inch. Please comment, let us know what other walkthroughs or how-to videos you would like to see from Wilson Combat, and we'll be sure to work on those in the future.